The Tale of Jeff the Rabbit, Trip to the City, written by Donna Kshir, read by Lee Roberts. One afternoon in a small village called North Bend, Jeff the Rabbit was born in the corner of a carrot patch in a small country garden. Jeff was a little brown country rabbit who accidentally hopped into a hamper one afternoon by mistake and fell fast asleep. The owner of the farm, Mr. Jones, frequently sold fruits and vegetables to a nearby town called Renova. He packed his fresh-grown goods in several large hampers. Mr. Jones placed the large hampers at the entrance of the farm so the local carrier could pick up his fruits and vegetables when he passed through. Jeff awoke in such a fright when he felt the hamper being lifted from the rocky road into the carrier's cart. The hamper rocked back and forth, throwing Jeff from side to side of the hamper. It was dark, and he couldn't see anything inside the hamper, but he could feel his tiny frame shifting against the fruits and vegetables, and he could hear the clicking and clattering of horses' feet as the carrier drove the cart for miles and miles towards the tiny town. At last, the cart finally stopped, and the hampers were removed from the cart and quickly carried inside a small restaurant. The restaurant's cook paid the carrier, the side door banged shut, and the carrier called out to the horses and whisked away the cart. Jeff was unaware of his surroundings. Still in darkness, he could hear many familiar noises he heard at the farm. Children laughing, dogs barking, people talking, and plenty of banging and clanging. But they were unfamiliar noises that scared Jeff, and he feared leaving the hamper. Jeff, who had lived in Mr. Jones's garden all of his life with his mother, father, and 5 siblings, was beyond frightened. When the cook opened the hamper and began to unpack the fresh fruits and vegetables, out ran Jeff for his life. The cook jumped onto a chair, shouting out for the town cat. The cat chased Jeff around the kitchen, through the living and dining room areas, until he made his way out a small opening in the door. He ran to a nearby home and hid under a porch. To Jeff's surprise, he had unknowingly crashed in on a family of rabbits. "Who are you?" inquired Betsy Bunny, the mother of 6 tiny town bunnies. After his initial surprise, Jeff recovered his thoughts and remembered the manners Mother and Father Rabbit had taught him. With much kindness and respect, Jeff introduced himself to Mother Bunny and her 6 baby bunnies, all white with black spots. Mother Bunny invited him to dinner. The dinner consisted of many courses, unfamiliar to a young rabbit from the country, but truly delicious to the last bite. All the dishes were unknown to Jeff, who at first was a bit afraid of trying new things. Only his tummy told a completely different story. He was very, very hungry. Jeff ate every last bite from his plate. As he dined, he told his tale of how he came to this new town and the horror he faced being chased by a cat. The bunnies invited him to spend the night, offering him the softest bed in sight. He decided to stay out of harm's way and tried to sleep, but only one thought filled his mind: getting back to the farm and his family. Over the next few days, Jeff longed to go home to his family and feast in the garden they shared. Town food didn't agree with him and his needs. It left him with pain in his tummy that he could hardly bear. The bunnies inquired about the garden back home at the farm. The bunnies all agreed it sounded like a very dull place to live. But to Jeff it was home, and if he had it his way, he would be there in a jiff. Mother Bunny could tell Jeff was down and in a stumper. She said, "Jeff, did you know the hampers go back to the country empty on Sundays?" He knew what he had to do. He had to get home, as the carrier wouldn't be too far along, and he would be back home at the farm before he knew it. So Jeff said goodbye to his newfound friends and made his way back to the restaurant where it all began. When the time was right, he jumped back into the hamper with a pea and carrot in hand for the trip. He once again felt the familiar rocking back and forth in the hamper, heard the clicking and clattering of the horse, and finally felt the hamper safely being set back down at the entrance to the farm. As the carrier pulled away, his little feet hit the ground running. He could feel the warmth of the sunshine hit his fur, and he knew he was finally back home, safe and sound. Jeff looked high up to the sky, to the tips of the trees. He looked low to the ground, from his hands to his knees. He could see the farm he had grown to love. The garden was full of lettuce, carrots, peas, and other fine shrubs. He knew he was home where he was meant to be, just an old country rabbit, satisfied as could be. Sometimes, on Sunday afternoons, Jeff would look at the hampers at the end of the country dirt road and think about his journey and his new friends from not too long ago. But at the end of the day, he knew in his heart there was no place like home. Jeff was one very thankful bunny. The end.